Hi, everyone. We are back for another episode of Twin Fluence, and we want to come and talk to you about all things AI, ChatGPT. And what I figured we would do is start with what's new in the world of ChatGPT.
Well, as
Mina.
of February 13th, there's been a memory update. And some of you probably already realized you had it, but didn't know you had it, but you used it and you turned it on. Basically, every chat that you have, every conversation that you've had since the beginning of using ChatGPT, whenever that was, it learns from you. So, for example, I use my ChatGPT specifically, I use it with a specific Google account, but I have other ones, the free accounts, and then even with my job. So wherever I use the conversations, it's memorizing what I do. So the way I talk using ChatGPT with my job, my school district, is different than I talk when I use it personally. So what it's doing is memorizing, it's learning, and it wants to go back and use some of that information. But what had happened was if you go to settings and then you go to personalization, you can turn on memory. Memory is different than just a conversation. Every time you use ChatGPT, it is a conversation that you're having. And it remembers your cadence, it remembers how you talk, it remembers the vocabulary you use. It is learning with you. It's kind of like when you were 5 years old or 10 years old. Every time you learned something new, you were learning how to do something differently. And your brain was making these neural connectors. Well, that's what ChatGPT is doing. It's creating these connections between how you think and how it thinks you should think. And it's making you become very, not just linear, exponential. So whenever I use ChatGPT and I wanted to think a certain way, it will spit out information kind of like a waterfall, like way too much information. But I've noticed that because I have been consistently asking ChatGPT to slow down, become a thought partner, become a buddy, it's always will ask me a question. Is this what you were thinking? How would you like to proceed? What are your thoughts about this? This is what I'm thinking based on what you did before. So those are some of that's just kind of the recent updates. So it'll do personalization and recall, looking at my notes. It will do editing and forgetting, meaning you basically delete the chat, and it impacts the productivity of what you're doing. Like it's faster and faster and faster and faster. And it will do recalling preferences based on what you've done in the past.
Here's
Whole
what's
lot.
interesting is I use ChatGPT at least 4 times a month for specific cities as a real estate agent and as a broker, an owner of a brokerage. I need to add Florida to that. So I need to make it 8 times a month for data. Now I use it every single day, but here's what I've learned, not realizing that there was an update, Mina, was every time I use my projects. In my projects, I have my instructions. And in my instructions are to compare and contrast data. And then it has a larger prompt. Create a blog for LinkedIn. Create social media posts. Create video scripts. What I've noticed is because I've made some updates to add whenever I write a letter, that I'm also doing email marketing with the same information is now ChatGPT. And this is what I noticed that was just simple. If we were to take it to the easy button, was now whenever I write a letter, it gives me a subject title. So I can take the same letter and throw it into my email marketing for my network and send it to them without having to ask it to create a subject for the e-blast. Now that's, to me, it was simple, but now I know why it made the change. And I can tell you because I asked ChatGPT to be my coach often, that it asked me a question afterwards. So now I think I need to be intentional on the AI buddy.
Okay, you mentioned you give it instructions and you use a compare and contrast, and you mentioned projects, excuse me. You mentioned projects. Can you maybe show us what that project is? And while you're opening it up and showing us what the projects is, I want to talk about it because projects is still fairly new. And if you're new to ChatGPT, you might not even notice it right away. Well, you'll notice it the first time, but then it seems to go away because of the little plus sign. But what I've noticed is with projects, it's letting me become more organized. So if you use Microsoft or Google, when you're using Google, you have Google folders and it helps you organize yourself. My Google folders are beautiful and organized and colorful. Well, OpenAI's ChatGPT created those projects so that you can now take all of your former chats. I recommend you start from now because I remember you and I talked about I should go back and reorganize them all. That would take me not just days, probably months to do it. So from this point moving forward, every time I create a chat, I'm considering whether or not I want to do it in a specific project. So one of the projects that I did, and I wanted to share it with you, was I
You want me to
created,
stop sharing my screen?
you don't have to, because I'm just going to explain it, is I created a project that every time I create a YouTube video, the instructions say, based on YouTube's algorithm, and then I went and found a PDF of YouTube's guidelines and algorithms and how it finds data. I uploaded that into the project instructions, which, you know what, I actually will share my screen. So what I did is, what you can do is you can create this project here and you can go into here and you can upload files or instructions. So every time that I use Zoom or anything that will give me the transcripts, I will say, use the transcripts from Zoom or whatever, add the transcripts here, and then in the conversation, the instructions say, always create a question that people on YouTube will search for based on this content. Because the algorithm, if you go to YouTube, which I would probably need to, I do want to show it to you. If I go to YouTube and go to my YouTube.
And I want to know did you Google what the algorithm is? Like, what did you do? Like, give
So
me the tips, or
because
did
I
you?
have this buddy here, it gives you a score on what your question is. So if I had a question that I wanted it to be searchable, like if I just put in principles, it tells me the rating of that the competition is poor and the search volume might be somewhat high, but I'm trying to get in the green for both of these. Now, I'm not saying that everybody this might be too buddy. I always forget. But instead of, let's say you can't afford paying this extra TubeBuddy stuff, and I want to make sure that every time I create a YouTube or an Instagram or a whatever my project is, I'll go back to projects. Let me just minimize this. Whatever my project is, I'm going to give it instructions and then go find the file based on the guidelines of the social media and put it here. Because now it's going to create the hashtags that are recently searchable. I can ask ChatGPT to go and always search the most current and searchable hashtags based on whatever. And now it's going to do that with my transcript for YouTube. Just those are the things that I started to realize, that I can make ChatGPT work more efficiently and proficiently for me and slow down instead of me working so hard to figure out what question works by going to YouTube. Like, just let it create that and then suggest maybe 2 or 3 questions that's searchable and then throw it in and see which one works. Because you can always go and change and edit your questions or your title. What I mean by question, I mean that's your title.
So, if I were to go to, I was Googling YouTube algorithm to see what I would get, because I was thinking, could I add that to a part of the prompt? So I'll come back to that. I'll think about that this weekend. So these are my projects. So I have one for these different cities. And then I also created one like you for YouTube. I have one for my membership. And then I don't know what we were doing with your AI brainstorm buddy, but it's there. And I think I had one for Twinfluence. There it is. So it's showing me the rest of them here. And then this is the one when we create these types of videos. So ChatGPT in the project will actually create the title or title options, the description for the podcast, for YouTube, etc., and some takeaways. So I Here's the one that I did today, although I did not upload the files yet. So for those of you that are like, well, can you just show me real quick? Here, this is going to be real quick. So I added new files. I should have done December. I don't know why I don't have December, but we'll add December later. So this is January data and January 2025 data for Carol Stream, and then 2013 data for Carol Stream. And so here are my instructions. Let's see, what are my instructions? Do I have? Oh, yeah, I do. I have a few. So and it really depends on how I want to work, Mina, because sometimes I don't want to write sometimes I want to write the letter. Sometimes I want to also write the social media post and the LinkedIn blog, but sometimes I don't want to do that all at the same time. So it depends on what I'm building. So I would simply, I don't know, you could tell Mina if I should do this better, but I'm just going to say use the instructions for the LinkedIn blog for January 2025 and 2013 data. And when I click enter, I'm going to explain why I need to go back and add December 2024 and December 2013. I need to go back and add it because at the end of the year or January 2026, I want to go back and actually look at all of the data for 12 months.
Okay, so that's pretty. I'm not gonna lie,
You're
that's
breaking up.
like,
I don't know why.
what about now?
Yeah, I think it was just the internet. So it was something was slow. It could have been my internet.
Oh, now I'm ready. You're looking at whether or not I'm hot. Did I hardwire I did. Okay. We'll blame it on dial up.
So so there's my blog post for LinkedIn.
So okay, keep going because I want to see it because that is kind of pretty.
Right, but what I was asking for you was, so here's my Carol Stream project. My question was, could I do that differently, or could I just say using the instructions?
Well, you can put in the instructions what you wanted to do every time. So
I did.
Okay, so
But are you saying I could put in the instructions every time I upload?
yes,
Okay, let's
absolutely.
do that.
There's no reason why you
Every time I add new data reports for Carol Stream, what do I need to do? Write the letter, the blog post, the social media posts, and the social media video
and
scripts.
yeah, and say use markdowns and be creative and change up the markdowns where it doesn't look like ChatGPT wrote it.
Say that again. Use
markdowns,
markdowns, and what?
comma, change the order of the markdowns, be creative, make sure it's in my voice, and make sure it doesn't sound like a bot wrote it.
Is it going to start writing because I did this?
No.
Or should I go grab the data
Save it.
reports?
You save it and then go and grab something. Oh my gosh, that's pretty. Whatever that was.
So I'm going to go grab Carol Stream. And because I did not upload December 2024, we'll add that. I'll go grab December 2013. I'll grab that. I will download it. We'll grab 2013. And then we'll add it to ChatGPT right here. Here, add. And you're saying that it's just going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Show me.
But wait, those are the project files you wanted to use every time you write a blog post? Like, did you, oh, you uploaded it? Never mind, just kidding. You didn't put it, do you want those in the project files or do you want them in what you're trying to do? Project files are like the background knowledge of what you wanted to do.
So,
So,
well, in
so
this
those,
case, I don't want to add it to the instructions then, so I have to still give it an action.
so yeah, you have to give it an action. So did you add those to the project files or did you add it to the plus sign? You didn't put it in as, you see the
Sorry.
plus?
Okay. So,
Look
okay,
into
hold
the chat,
on.
look at the chat.
But just hold on a second and I'll go look at the chat. And you were breaking up a little bit. And I don't know I don't think it's your mic. It could be the internet, but here we are. And it could just be my end. It could be my end and you sound fine. So if I were to look at our chat, I don't know. I don't see anything from you. Did you send me something?
No,
Oh, I thought you said look at the chat. Okay. Sorry.
literally the chat right there for Carol Stream in the text, there's a plus sign. That's where you needed to put your,
Well, I understand that, but I want them for.
in other words, the Carol Stream market comparison. Do you always want ChatGPT in this project to use that?
Let me think out loud what I think you're telling me. Let me say out loud. I think you are telling me I should have uploaded it here.
Yes.
I'm saying I want them in the project files so I can come back at the end of the year and not have to go find those files.
Huh, you might
So
need to give
what
it some instructions on when to use that then.
so I
That's
wonder
not
if I
a bad
went back
idea.
and say every time I add new data reports to what if I say to the project files?
Well, every time I add new projects or PDFs to the project file, use appropriate information as needed or as necessary because
Or
it doesn't,
can I just leave it like that?
you
Let's
can.
just I'll test that next time. But what you're saying is if I go here and I upload Carol Stream, let's do the most recent data. Why not? Right? I don't have to go back in time. How will it know to use the instructions?
It
Just click
always
this.
knows to use the instructions. So for example,
I just did it. Let's see what happens. Do 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 do. That's all I can use. I don't know
Jeopardy,
how many.
that's all you got right now is Jeopardy. That's all we got.
Um, so I wrote a letter. It's writing the letter, and then it's writing the LinkedIn blog post. So what you're saying is it's literally it's actually taking action on those instructions because I uploaded it and simply clicked enter. Now that makes it easy.
Now look at the creativity. It's got emojis, it's different. It's just
I
different.
think I should add the Carol Stream website or a Carol Stream news blog
You can
and ask it
PDF
to
it.
tie in what somebody else wrote and to cite the other company.
You can save it as a PDF, the page, save, print, save as PDF, the entire page, and put that in as a project file.
But it
You
is a
know how
project file.
sometimes we can't,
What
if
do
we
you
go
mean? Tell me what to do. Tell me the
where
instructions.
what website did you want to go to? Go to that website.
Okay. I don't know yet. I'm just
Yeah.
talking out loud what I think I should do. I think I should go to Carol Stream, Illinois, and I should go with I could go to the village, right? Let's see, does Carol Stream have a blog? So this is what I would do is I would research where I can get some really good updated information without controversial news. How about
Well,
that?
see, but you can research right in that project right now. Like, there's no reason why you can't attach it to the project. And just so you know, even every time you create a new conversation within the project, it's going to save the PDFs within the conversation. But I do like the idea of putting it in the project files because you can save it and look back at it. So you could, right now, where it says in there, you can say, find me research on whatever it is and just see what will happen. And maybe it'll create a blog because of the research, but I am curious. Find me research that would help whatever it is you're trying to do with this.
I didn't mean to do that, but here we go. That was not what I wanted to do. Let me stop this.
Because I realized that,
Oh, it's telling me, it's talking to me.
oh, and it also, if you expand, it's using Canvas, which is nice. And what is Canvas? It's basically giving you the power to edit after you're finished, which is still fairly new to some people. I don't think people realize that you can edit and you can change the content by, what range of academic language or non-academic language you want to use. You can do it at an elementary, middle, high school, collegiate level. And so if you wanted it to read like an elementary school because you want more people to have access to it, because typically a newspaper or an article reads at about a 5th or 6th grade level, you could change it where it's accessible. Because a community, you can even change it for Gen Zers, obviously. You can go back and edit it. Which,
See, my concern is now that I gave it instructions, when I do this, I need to say don't use the instructions? Because it just used the instructions when I want, and I had click enter too
go
fast.
click at it. Click the content package for homeowners. Let me look at it.
I already it redid 2013 because it went back and looked at data history. So it
Yeah,
already
so
looked at it.
everything that's in the project files, it wants to attach it. You have to be able to tell the instructions that don't always use all the project files, only use it if it's necessary.
Well,
you
no, it just
save them there-
decided to use 2013 is what I'm telling you. Because I
Yeah,
looked at it.
because
So,
it's in the project file.
okay, let me finish my thought here. Here's my thought. Is you were telling me that I should come to ChatGPT and ask it to do research. So I was going to say, hey, ChatGPT, help me find relevant blog information for Carol Stream
Ignore.
to be used when you create a blog post when you create a blog post
Ignore instructions.
in the future. Ignore instructions. There we go. Okay. So I could do that. I could train it to know when to ignore. So here it's doing this. No.
And so he's still wanting you to do a blog post, say, show me the research. So you could almost create another project to do just the research.
Well, I could just go create a chat just to do the
Or
research.
just create a chat and put it where you want it to be. I mean.
So now it's doing it. It's
Yeah.
doing what I told it to do.
Because what it wanted to do was create a blog based on all of that. Because it's doing what you asked it to do, which was fine. I thought it was kind of a nice idea. I was thinking, oh, create a blog on this and then cite each one of these websites. Like you can say, now create the blog post and now cite all of those websites using APA, MLA, or Chicago style, whatever.
Well, I was thinking what I would like to do is do a little more research and look to see if there's like a true blog for Carol Stream, and it doesn't. Carol Stream Historical Society might be a good one. I know I wouldn't want to use the newspapers because it could be controversial, right? But I like the Carol Stream Historical Society. But this also tells me, Mina, that maybe no one is really blogging about the village of Carol Stream, and that maybe opportunity as a real estate agent. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm going to stop sharing.
Well,
And
which is good for everybody because what you just showed people that they could do this too for their area, and maybe they can create a project doing the same thing. And
right.
it didn't, what did it take you? What, 5, 10 minutes to do all that, which may feel like a lot. But if you were to rewatch the video and pause it and go, okay, this is what she did. This is what I want to do. You know, you could grab all the same information. That's what
So
I'm thinking.
so
Because
let's
quite
sum up.
honestly, I would be doing the same thing in education. I could do exactly what you did in my arena and the connection on how it connects to real estate right now. Because for me, all I'm thinking about is the number of kindergartners that are not entering school districts because people aren't having babies like they did in 2020.
So in addition to that, let's sum up what we just talked about. You started with the updates with
The
ChatGPT.
memories. Yeah. So now you
Then you
have
talked
memory.
about, and then you went into projects. So sum up, what are your takeaways from what we talked about today?
I would just tell people to stick with the same chat, depending on what organization you're in. Like if I'm using my one for my school district, I stay there because it's going to be very specific. And then when I'm using my personal one, because it's a different voice, stay in there because it's memorizing it. You can go to the settings, click on personalization, and then click on memory because memories are different than just conversations. Conversations are individual chats. The memory takes all the information that you had before and integrates it. That's the one thing. And then the other thing is organize your projects. It's okay to create more projects and start putting all of the chats within the projects as you work through it and add the PDFs. Consider what type of PDFs and how it's going to use the PDFs and make sure you give it instructions and you can always change the instructions. And if you don't want it to use the instructions, say, don't use instructions, do this instead, because maybe you want to keep it in that flow of that project.
So there you have it. I am Carrie Little. I am a designated managing broker of a real estate brokerage, Caremark Realty Group in Illinois and in Florida. I can be found on Instagram. I can be found on LinkedIn. I can be found on TikTok at Carrie Joe Little everywhere.
And I'm Dr. Mina Blasey, and you can find me everywhere as Mina J. Blasey, except on YouTube, MJ Blasey.
So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channels today and invite a friend.